Good evening. Welcome to Children First, a program brought to you by Maryville Academy and Chicago Access Network Television. I am Sister Catherine Ryan. I am privileged to serve as the Executive Director of Maryville Academy. And this evening I am delighted to present as our guest Susan Miller, who is the Director of our Casa Imani program. So welcome, Susan.
Thank you.
I'm going to ask first that Susan tell us about herself. Susan, can you tell us about how you became professionally prepared to offer the service that you do at Maryville?
I have a degree in psychology and in social work, and I'd spent most of my career working, about 34 years now, working with families and children. Early on, it was mostly families doing in-home work in Cook County, in the city, and in different projects, and going into homes and working with families, parents of children, and helping them be better parents. Later on, I did some other kinds of youth service work, and that was also in community. This is my first residential experience, and I've been with Maryville for almost 6 years now.
And we're happy you are. And I'm going to ask Susan to tell us about the program she leads, which is called Casa Imani. What does Casa Imani mean, Susan?
Casa Imani is a combination of two languages, Spanish and one of the African languages, Swahili, and it means house of faith.
And if we were to be with you right at the physical location of Casa Imani, which we will talk about in a minute, what kinds of young people would we see?
The Casa Imani program serves teenagers who are wards of the state, wards of the Department of Children and Family Services, because they've been abused and neglected. And they come from lots of chaos, lots of abuse and neglect, and usually a lot of different foster homes and other kinds of residential placements. They also come to us pregnant, and they have made a choice to give life to their babies and to attempt to parent them, and so we will help to treat their trauma past as well as make them into parents. They also live there with their children once they have them.
So we're talking about a program for adolescent teen mothers and their babies.
Yes.
And where is this located?
It's located in Bartlett, Illinois. It's a northwestern suburb on a very idyllic campus. There are 6 group homes on campus and an administration building. We back up to a lake. We have wooded areas and lots of wildlife out there.
Okay. And at this campus, the young ladies who are in the Casa Imani program live in 2 of the homes?
Yes.
And they live there with their babies?
They live there with their babies. They each have their own rooms. Their babies sleep in the rooms with them.
And we refer to this as the Eisenberg campus, and I'd just like to tell our viewers that we refer to this campus, which Susan has just described as the Eisenberg campus, because of the generosity of the Eisenberg Foundation, which has helped to contribute to the programs that Susan is about to describe tonight. So, Susan, where do the girls come from who are in the program, geographically?
Geographically, they come from mostly the city of Chicago, but we serve girls all through the state. There are only 2 and rather small residential programs for pregnant teens that the Department of Children and Family Services funds, along with other donations. And so the girls come from Chicago, they come from the suburbs. We also have girls from downstate as far as Springfield and Champaign, and as far south as East St. Louis, Belleville, Centralia.
And let me ask you the question another way. If I don't ask you geographically, I ask the question, what kinds of worlds do the girls come from? What kinds of environments are they coming from? How would you tell us?
I would say they come from lots of trauma, lots of abuse, a very sexualized environment. Most have been sexually abused. Most of our girls come having been impregnated, abused by older men, much older men in their 30s or 40s. And it takes them a while to understand that that was an abusive moment in their lives, and they've had a lot of physical abuse. They mostly believe they're bad kids now because they've been moved so many times, and they believe that they're bad. They're moving because they're bad. Nobody really wants them. Part of what we do with them is to help them go back and look at what happened when you were 1 and 2 and 3. One of the girls showed me when I said, honey, you were burned over and over with cigarette burns and scalded and with a hot iron. And she doesn't remember that because that was before she was 2. but she was able to show me a mark on her leg that looked like a burn mark. She said, "I've always wondered what that was." So a lot of abuse. Some of them come from living on the street. Most of them have very little in the way of education. They have been truant or sometimes not ever enrolled in school. So they've missed lots of the regular school and child and teen activities that other kids have.
And how old are our young ladies who are in our Casamani program?
They range in age from 13 to 20 right now.
So we want our viewers to understand that these are children themselves, children having children, who are choosing to want to learn how to be good parents to their children. And this is what our Casamani program offers them. How many young ladies can be in the program at one time?
20.
And their babies as well.
Yes. Each home has 10 bedrooms, and they get their own rooms, and so there are 10 girls currently right now. There are 10 girls in each home.
And what does the program offer to them? You've described some of what the girls' needs are, but a young person, a young girl coming into our Casamani program comes to you and you say, here's what we're going to offer you in terms of our program design or in terms of our schedule.
Well, each girl has a therapist who is in the home, located in the home, with an office in the lower level of the home, and she receives individual therapy, she receives group therapy, and family therapy if we have any family that are willing to work with us. There is a case manager in the home. Each girl has an assigned case manager, and that person works with the outside entities that are involved in the girl's life. It could be a court situation, probation officer, it could be their own attorneys that are representing them as guardian ad litem, and the case manager also works a lot with the school system. She also will find other kinds of community resources. Sometimes they want to take a baby and mommy swim class or tumbler class, and the case manager will find those resources. I would say actually that most of the impact is provided by our direct care staff, our youth care workers, who work with the girls around the clock. I'm always careful to say our girls don't sleep very well. They have nightmares and they have terrifying kinds of things that have happened in the dark. Some won't sleep with the lights off. Some have to sleep on the floor. They've grown up in places where it's only safe to sleep on the floor. And so even our night staff are doing a lot of work with girls. The girls tell me they have good conversations about spirituality at night with the staff, probably because it's quieter and they can explore those kinds of ideas. But the direct care staff also work with them on independent living things, trying to help them budget the money, the small amount of money that they have, working with them on understanding how to use public transportation, how to use physician services, where to find child care, immunizations for your infant, those kinds of things.
So there's a great deal in the program in teaching them how to be good parents themselves.
Yes.
And what about the babies, when the young ladies are involved in some of these programs or off at school or other activities, what's happening for the babies?
The staff will take care of them for the most part. We do have babies that use the local daycare, and as we've discussed recently, we are having some struggle with daycare payments because the state subsidizes or pays for the daycare for DCFS children who have infants and toddlers. And we've used one of the daycares for quite some time who's now said that the payment just isn't enough. That the public will pay $290 a week for a child, and the payment that they receive for our children is only $150 a week. So like a lot of other businesses, they have made a decision that they aren't able anymore to serve the infants and toddlers in our program. So we have looked for another daycare, and until then, staff will be caring for babies at home during the day.
And some of our young ladies actually who are in the program also are dealing with some mental health conditions, are they not?
Yes.
Not to be a surprise, I guess, given all that you've described that they've been through. During this period of time, they're not taking any medications for that mental illness. Would that be right? For the most part, that's right. And they do come to us with post-traumatic stress disorder, very severe anxiety disorders, depression, bipolar disorder. We have a couple of girls who are schizophrenic.
And we do have a psychiatrist who works with us, who is a child psychiatrist, and she is very reluctant, as most doctors would be, to give medication for psychiatric illnesses while they are pregnant because of the harm that can be done to the fetus. While research says that, well, the evidence-based practice for treatment of those illnesses is a combination of medication and therapy, we are really relegated to using only therapy with the girls, which means that we have to be quite watchful of safety issues, because when girls are very, very depressed and not treated with all the tools that could be available were they not pregnant, they would be more prone to suicide attempts. They may be more prone to aggression at times. And medication can sometimes be started for them after they've delivered their child. Most of the time, psychiatrists are wishing to wait until they're 3 months postpartum, when they're kind of settled down hormonally.
Now, a normal part of life and important for our young ladies is an education. Do the young ladies at Casa Imani attend school?
Yes, they attend community schools, and there's a variety of schools that they attend. Most of them are actually at the local high school, and some get quite involved. There are a couple that are involved in service organizations within the high school. One has played violin in the school orchestra, and a couple of others have been on the track team. And that's one of the reasons we'd like for them to be involved in attend the larger community high school. There are others that attend more alternative schools and therapeutic day schools. We have 3 young ladies who actually have finished high school and are not quite clinically ready to be on their own, and they're pregnant or they're parenting already. And those girls are attending a local community college, cosmetology school, vocational kinds of schools.
So when they finish high school, if the young moms are still with us, they can go further in education, or they can be getting vocational training.
That's an impetus for us, because we know that that's one of the things that will make them successful as both as individuals, as parents, and we really do foster further education for them.
And are the young ladies also able to take jobs in the community?
Yes. With the economy being what it is, it's been hard for them to get jobs. We did have a recent young lady who came to me after working at a local fast food place for 4 or 5 weeks and say she learned something, and it had been a struggle, and she said she learned that at work they don't care about your feelings. And so she was getting a lot of instruction and direction, and not as it is at home in the group home, where she is cared about for her feelings.
And much more attention is given. Yes.
Yes.
Now, I want to go back for a moment to something you said about the men who are the fathers of some of the children. And I don't want to paint everyone with the same brush, but I think you pointed out that it is not unusual that the fathers of some of the children are men who may be 20 years older than the teen mothers that we're talking about. Can you say a little bit more about that?
Sure. Some of them have been sexually abused by family members or extended family members, and that's how that has occurred. Others have been prostituted. Others have engaged in a relationship, they believe, with a man. And we try to educate them. One of our therapists said to a girl who was 14, and the father of her infant was 29. And the girl had said to her, well, I look older. I'm really pretty. He said I was pretty, and I know that he thought I was older. And the therapist said, honey, he picked you up outside your middle school. He knew how old you were. And so there are predators, we know, out there that are looking for younger girls. And one of the challenges then is how do you handle the influence of the infant's father in their lives? Do they try to access child support? Can they do that? Some of them will try to get child support and then not report them for the criminal act that it was. And it's been impossible for us to include them in any kind of family therapy or in any way visit their infant, their child, on campus.
That is to say, the fathers. It's impossible
Correct.
to include them.
Correct.
And this is a challenge that we know from the research, that there are some men who are predators, such as you've described, and that they will look for vulnerable young teenagers,
Yes.
and that they will have perhaps many such young teenagers whom they've victimized. Now I want to take us to a positive side of the family, if I may, for a moment, because many of the family members of the children do care about them in whatever way that they are able to do so. And what would be the involvement of the birth family when it's possible?
We've had some situations where the father of the baby is actually another teenager, and somebody who's been interested in being a parent, and so they not only visit the girls and their infant on campus, the girl may have a visit with them off campus, and we sometimes will include the young man in family therapy and in parenting education. Beyond that, we attempt to find family of some sort for every girl that we serve. And it's very disheartening when you have somebody who has absolutely nobody that they have contact with anymore. But most of our girls can identify somebody that we can find and build on. We can sometimes take family members that they may not have had such good relationships with, but we can help to rehabilitate them through some therapy. And we do invite family members to visit. Family members who have come to visit girls from far away, downstate, actually can stay in one of our homes that has empty rooms. And so we allow them to eat meals with the girls and visit the girls on campus for a weekend or 2 or 3 days. We also have several events during the year where we invite family and friends of the girls to come, and we do barbecues and parties and picnics and such with them.
I want to highlight the Family and Friends Day for a moment, because I think our viewers will be interested to know, if you come to our Bartlett campus, and that's what we have, is a campus with the 6 homes that Susan has described. If it's a Family and Friends Day, there is a picnic all over the campus, and persons identified by the teen mom who are important to her, so long as they've not victimized her, are invited, are they not, to this event?
Yes.
And
it's kind of an all-day event, although we tell people it starts around 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon. The girls are so keyed up with decorating and getting ready for all of this, they often need to have new outfits for that day. They have invited everybody from a teacher at school to a nurse that they know, to their obstetrician, to extended family members, cousins and aunts and uncles, and friends from school that they know. And there's a lot of, last year it was so dangerously hot when we held the Family and Friends Day in the summer that we held it inside of our gymnasium where it was air conditioned. We were quite concerned all day long with the babies that would have to have been outside in the hot, humid air that day. And so we were constantly cautioning the girls, please make sure you're spending enough time inside and taking little ones out only for a short period of time. And it was a chance we had to educate them about babies don't regulate their temperatures as well as the rest of us. But there were games, there was lots of food, there was music, dancing, and some other kinds of entertainment we provided for them.
And I know that the girls take great pride in this event and look forward to having it again. So we know that it's important for each of us, including our teen moms, to belong to someone and to have people who are important in our lives share these kinds of moments. So the Family and Friends Day is one such activity in which that happens.
Yes.
Now, let me ask you a little bit more about field trips and opportunities for our young ladies to not only be on the campus, but get out and get to know the bigger world in a healthy way.
Other kinds of activities. Well, we used to come into the city for all kinds of activities because there are such lots of events in the city and museums and art institutes, and we do that still. With the cost of gas, we've been trying to do more things locally, and so we've explored the northwest suburban area, and it is amazing how many things actually are available there. The girls use the community resources of the library probably 2 or 3 times a week. We are doing library trips, and then we have a pool pass in the summer when they go to use the swimming pool. We took them. It's amazing though how what normal teenagers want to do is often the game kind of places and movies. And like lots of normal teenagers, because that's part of their lives too, anything adults suggest would be boring or they don't want to do it. And what we've learned really is that they just haven't had the experience of it, and they're probably a little timid with it. We took some girls to Navy Pier last summer for one of the events there, and they really had a good time that night. They got involved with some people just dancing to some of the music, and the staff were able to just stand there and watch and take care of their babies while they had a good time. And then we took 6 or 7 of them with a couple of the toddlers to the Shed Aquarium, and they came back to tell me about it. They had taken pictures on their cell phone of the fish, and the biggest thing about the Shed Aquarium, they said, was, "Susan, there were fish there." I thought, oh, you didn't know that. They didn't know that.
They'd never had the opportunity before to go to the aquarium, right?
Yes. No, apparently not.
Now, actually, our parenting teen program, Casamani, was not always at the Bartlett campus. And as you know, Susan, we had it for a while in the city of Chicago, and then we had the opportunity with this beautiful campus in Bartlett. We wanted to offer the moms and their children this pastoral setting, the tranquility of the campus, the opportunity to be able to take their babies outside more often. We have a kiosk there for the children. And I don't want to take the story from you, but what I would like you, Susan, to share with our viewers is the story of shortly after our teen moms, many of whom are not from that area, the story of our teen moms first moved out to Bartlett into this setting, and one young mom was pushing her baby in the stroller and had an experience with one of the local animals.
Well, they've had a number of experiences. I remember that when I took them out there from their city site the first time to show them the place, and most of the girls were very urban kids, and they said, "Are there lions and bears out here?" I said, "No, but there are deer and there are some other kinds of wildlife." And they moved out there a couple of weeks later, and one morning another one of our administrative staff was coming onto campus and saw an abandoned stroller in the middle of the road, and he became very concerned that something had happened. There was no baby and no mom and no staff around, and what he found, he picked up the stroller, put it in his car, brought it back to the office, and then on our overhead PA system said, "There's a stroller if anybody needs to come find him." And yes, staff and the young mom came down to get the stroller and told the story of how they had been out for a walk that morning and were accosted by a couple of deer in the road. And there are lots of deer out there.
Accosted meaning they saw them in the road.
They saw them. The deer were standing very still, and the mom and the staff panicked and picked up the baby, left the stroller, and ran back to the building. They were so afraid. They've become actually quite fond of the deer. Now they're another thing that they're taking pictures of with their cell phones, the deer.
So they've become accustomed to it. But it gives a little sense, perhaps, of the kind of pastoral setting. Our girls call it the country sometimes, but it actually isn't the country, but a setting that's peaceful enough so that the moms and their babies can have some of the harmony with nature that we know can be so life-giving and also so healing.
Yes.
And I want to thank you, Susan, for sharing with us the story of the children at Casamani. I want to tell our viewers that this is one program we offer at Maryville Academy, and the reason we thought it was important to bring this story to you tonight is so that we are all aware of our young teens who face many challenges, who some of whom are teen moms who are in the circumstances that Susan has described, and there are opportunities for them to be children yet in the ways that they need to so that they can continue growing up, they can finish their education, they can learn job skills, and at the same time they can learn how to be good parents for the babies that they have brought into this world and they love and want to care for. We thank you for being with us tonight on this edition of Children First, and we wish you a good evening.